What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of The Throw-In. Very, very happy Monday. It is April 24, 2023. What's going on? Let me fix my camera. I didn't realize until just now how bad that. There we go. We should be better under the lights there. All right, we got a busy show for you guys today. A lot to talk about, a lot to get going here. Busy raw tonight as we get going, and it's interesting because we're just here's what's on the radar here for today. We are this week. We got the NFL draft. All right, where we will get to see, first of all, what happens, who breaks down what, right? Because the whole purpose of this NFL draft is to start making those forward steps for the 2023/24 season, right? So what's going to happen is that we're going to be here is at this draft for the Bengals, particularly, and we're going to follow, see, who the Browns, the Ravens, and the Steelers pick up, because it's important. Excuse me. So, we want to, I think out here in Kentucky, northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, we have a few things that we're looking for, right? We're looking for who the Bengals are going to pick up. Is it going to be defensive positions? Is it going to be, offensive linemen like we've been talking about since the beginning of, spring training? Is it going to be, is it going to be receivers? I really don't know. I don't have an idea of where. I mean, I have an idea of what the Bengals should do, but realistically, when they hit when they go on the clock on Thursday, Friday night, we really don't know what the Bengals have in store. So I'm excited to come here and talk about all that stuff. We also need to figure out and keep a close eye on a couple of the divisions here. And I'll explain to you why here, right? Because there's been additions and subtractions to some NFL teams. And this week, we'll take a look at the key additions and to some key subtractions from around the NFL, especially in the AFC North. And what we're going to do is that we need to compare that. We needed to see, because, for example, the Cincinnati Bengals have lost two big key pieces in their safeties in the backfield of the defensive position this year, thanks to the NFL draft. And so, thanks to trades, thanks to free agency. So we have to sit here and put pieces, all of that together, which is going to be fun. A lot to work with, a lot going on here this week when it comes down to the NFL draft. Plus, later on in our program, we'll talk about the breaking news that came down officially in paperwork, where Aaron Rodgers have finally has been traded to the New York Jets. That has been official. I just heard about that. If we get any press conference, probably tomorrow, later on this week, we'll definitely try to air you some here. But we got that going on. So the NFL, plenty of NFL. One thing that we also need to look on for the NFL, okay, and I have a couple lists here that was written by the Inquirer earlier, is there's a couple of players, from the Cincinnati Bearcats alumni we get a look that are expected to enter the NFL draft this season. So we want to look, hey, where are they going? How are they going to benefit the NFL in general? Because we like to see players a couple more players we'll talk about here later on in the program that has transferred from other teams to Cincinnati. And for the Bearcats this 2023 season, the WWE draft, and we'll get a big into the WWE draft, which, coming up tonight, Monday Night Raw, Triple H is going to have a big announcement coming our way. To hopefully, we don't know, could it be a couple different directions. So excited to get by that. Let's kick things off first and foremost with the Cincinnati Reds. Now they go on and they fall short to the Pittsburgh Pirates 4 games tonight. And I'm a little bit shocked. We're about a month officially into the 2023 season. And if you asked me a month ago, did I expect or anticipate the Pittsburgh Pirates to be in first place right now, sitting 16 to 7, to 7 right now? All right, let's look at this for a second. The National League standing coming into today, 16-7, the Pittsburgh Pirates are leading the NL Central. Now, a lot of it shouldn't be about, we're only April 24th, right? And I'm going to say this, right? We're still easing the way in. But here's the point, and you see the Reds out here on the screen. They're 7-15 going into the night's game. They got swept 4 games from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Just think about this. Back on Thursday, the Cincinnati Reds wore 4 games to be a game behind the Pirates, which are projectively to be worser teams, right? I mean, a worse team than what we expected to be. This is a bit concerning because we dropped game 1 4-3 against the Pirates. We dropped game 2 4-2 against the Pirates. Game 3 2-1. And then we get shut out with Hunter Green on the mound on Sunday. And this is where the frustrating part lies. What are we expected to do with the Reds moving forward if we can't beat or avoid a sweep, especially a 4-game sweep at most? So it's a bit frustrating coming into today saying, all right, man, you kind of wish that we took 1 or we at least took 2. And I had high hopes that we were able to go into Pittsburgh and take at least 2 out of 2. I was a bit disappointed in how the Cincinnati Reds handled business. And now they get to go on. They're back home for a 3-game series before they get an off day against the Texas Rangers. And we'll talk about that. And, we're going to talk a lot about the Cincinnati Reds here, probably in this first hour. I mean, I think it's warranted. What should the Reds be doing here? Okay? What should the Reds change? What are some changes that the Cincinnati Reds need to maybe start considering in this first month? Well, coming out of Cincinnati already, coming out of today, Jason Vosler was DFA'd. As the Reds picked up and signed right fielder Henry Ramos, who has been called up to the big leagues. And I'll get to the lineups here in a bit for tonight's ball game, but we need to pick up a victory. I think it's going to be it's a do or die moment in my opinion. Jason Vosler gets DFA'd, and I think he kicked off the season pretty well. Could have been better. Reason why I say he gets DFA'd, he comes in with in the 3 weeks, 4 weeks of the season, 62 at bats, 6 runs batted in, 10 hits, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, batting 161 with a 200 on base percentage. Not good numbers. And I think let's not go off the rail for a moment, right? Because we know the overall goal here for 2023 was that we have a bunch of young, good guys in that lineup, in the minor leagues that are expected to develop over the next few years and become and establish themselves as the next thing for the Cincinnati Reds through 2026, 2027, etc. Is it time to press that button now? See, at the beginning of the season, the only thing that we lacked was bullpen. We were definitely nervous about how that rotation started because Luke Weaver was an essential to the back end of the rotation to help Overton and to help Sessa. But then Weaver started on the IL. We threw Sessa and Overton out. Didn't get to a great start. And it was also thanks to a lot of the bullpen applications. I mean, our bullpen was really desperately struggling to get onto their feet the first couple of weeks of the season. I really feel, okay, and you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, but I really feel that the Cincinnati Reds has gotten better. Their bullpen has gotten many better. I'm sorry, I'm just taking that. There we go. Sorry. It's interesting, and I just apologize for being distracted. A couple weeks ago, the wife got a bird feeder, and we hung it up, and the birds come over, and we get cardinals left and right and left, and I just think it's so memorizing. Me even getting memorized over watching birds come and eat, and I got this nice red cardinal up here at the door, kind of looking their way through, maybe trying to find something to eat. I don't really quite know, but he's just chilling out there, and it kind of just caught my eye here off the side, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. But all right, so let's get back to our conversation. Is it time for the Reds to make some changes? Over the last series between the Phillies and the Rays, that bullpen and that rotation, they've been phenomenal. All right, they've been outstanding and luxurious. All right, they keeping 4 runs. I mean, I think that's typical. Now, the Reds a week ago, all right, they took on the Tampa Bay Rays, and they got clustered. They got hit hard, right? 10-0. I mean, but yet again, that's expected from a good team. No, I feel like the rotation and the bullpen has really become solid. It's the bats, you guys. The bats isn't there. I mean, they're game 1 put up 8 hits, game 2 5 hits, 8 hits in game 3, 4 hits in game 4. So I guess let's ask the question: are the bats there? I think so. They're just not scoring any runs. I don't think the Redlegs are just being able to score guys in. And it gets frustrating because when you have an outing as good as an outing as Hunter Green, who the Reds went to drastic measures to keep protected. They took him out a week ago on Monday because he got a ball hit off of his tibia. It was just a contusion, right? So they take him out of the ball game and they keep him going. They actually, matter of fact, they brought up Levi Stroud to kind of give him an extra day, and then he pitched down on Sunday. Now, I told you guys, I wish he would have pitched tonight instead of yesterday, but I think it's also a good idea to keep him in the rotation, to keep him moving, and to keep him active as much as possible. So you have a good outing with Nick Lodolo. You have a good outing with Graham Ashcraft. You have a good outing with Luis Sessa. Luis Sessa only gave up 2 runs. Hunter Green gave up 2 runs. I mean, and you just can't get insurance runs to come around to help the ball club, to help that bullpen out. So it's what do we give? What do we give? What is going to have to sink to make everything work together? And once everything works together, I think we have a really good ball club. So coming up after our first break in our first segment, we have a couple of things moving forward. I got to ask you guys, and we got to talk about options. We got to ask what should be done here for the next moving down the road. How are we going to progress? We're going to also talk about Madison Bumgarner. Right, this is a question that I've heard on social media over the weekend. Should Madison Bumgarner get a phone call from the Cincinnati Reds? Would we be would we be stupid enough not to call him? But yet again, would we be stupid enough to call him? So we got to talk about that in the first segment. Here, we'll get you guys ready for the Reds and Rangers. Bruce Bochy comes into town. I'm excited. Hopefully the Reds in the 3-game series could get off to a good start. The first thing I'm thinking of with the Reds problem is maybe it's this 20 consecutive days. right? At the beginning, it was the bullpen, and the offense was looking great. We're at the back end of this now, and the bullpen found their strength. They're getting the rest they need. We're having good outings from our starting pitching, but maybe our offense is just tired, exhausted, right? Are we drained after only playing 17 games so far? We got 3 more left. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's why we're struggling so bad. We can't slip back as for teams like the Oakland Athletics. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about the Pirates and what's going on over there with the Pirates, kicking things off. We'll get you guys around the NL Central for the weekend and what they look at for the week to come. A lot of local sports to talk about. Cincinnati Bearcats, transfer portal, a couple of players they picked up from the portal this week. A couple guys we want to look out, and I'll share with you guys heading into this week's draft. Musketeers baseball here as they take on Eastern Kentucky tomorrow. We'll get you updates to that. You got Cincinnati Cyclones, who picked up the first 2 victories of the Kelly Cup playoffs. I got the brackets here for you guys as well, as we'll get you an update on that. But like I said, hey, listen, a big night. A lot of things going on, right? NFL draft is this weekend. I want to say it's Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night. Well, on SmackDown on Friday, we will see the WWE draft. And, Hunter is expected, has promised us a lot of some changes, some big drastic changes. So we want to get into that conversation, and I got some ideas and some thoughts. I want to start creating some thoughts and ideas of who could be going in the draft, who's going to get called up from from NXT and all that stuff. So we're just getting underway, you guys. All right, Rockies start to get underway, but we're just getting underway here on the program. I want to thank everyone who's watching us over there on YouTube. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Be sure to have those notifications on. Don't miss a single episode. If you guys are on Facebook and Twitter, thank you guys. Hit that like button. Share it with a friend. Let us know. Let people know that we're live now. We want to hear from you guys. Okay, and the way to do that is head on over to our YouTube page. Follow us while you're there, and then comment down below on these stories and topics. All right. If you guys are also listening to us on audio platforms, we want to thank you. Without you guys, none of this is possible. So thank you guys for listening to us and making this your weekly sports show. We're going to take a time out. Come on back. We'll talk more Reds right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. 5:22 here on the program. Welcome on back here to the Throw-In on a Monday afternoon. I know it's not our normal time frame, but hey, we got to get a show in. We got to get started. We got to get hyped for the weekend. A lot to talk about, a lot to go on underway, and we're just getting started. Hey, want to go ahead and give a big shout out to StreamYard Studios, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. StreamYard Studios create your podcast, videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out their free version today at StreamYard.com. I hope everyone's had themselves a great week, and I know I have. Celebrating my 28th birthday. And I'm going to give a big shout out and thank everyone out there who wished me a happy birthday. I knew we got a lot of messages yesterday. So I just want to make sure I properly thank everyone. Ended up on Saturday, my oldest, it rained pretty good on Friday night. So Saturday, the fields were unplayable. This is like 3 weeks in a row where baseball is just not in play. Well, 2 weeks in a row for softball. And it seems to me that it's supposed to rain this weekend again, so it doesn't look like we're going to be at softball again. And there's going to be a couple of double headers we're going to have to make up. But went out to soccer with the youngest on Saturday, and just kind of chilled back, relaxed, had myself a good time. Woke up on Sunday, was like I said, celebrating 28 years, I guess, on this planet, for whatever it's worth, and kind of let the wife just plan out the day for me. Kept on asking me what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm just the passenger seat. So took us. We went to go pick up the girls, and she took us out to Bob Evans. First time eating Bob Evans. Really good. It was a really good breakfast, lunch. I had you're going out to new places. You just want to try something to make sure that you can settle it. So, and then went out to breakfast in the morning. Walked around the mall. Got to watch them get their nails done, which I think was exciting. I don't know. I'm not really much of a partier. I just much rather do things along with family and enjoy the time being. Well, and then she kind of treated me out last night. It was a really late o'clock. It was a 10:40 p.m. Movie for what was it? Was it Evil Dead Rise? That's the movie, right? I don't know. She's ignoring me over there on the dining table. But we got a chance to enjoy a nice slasher movie, which was entertaining. Gonna get out of there until 1 o'clock, and then I ended up taking my oldest to Dunkin' Donuts this morning. She had a sprinkle one, and then as soon as I grabbed my food, I was like, "Man, you're already done with your donut." So she got back in line and got herself an M&M donut there. So it was a really fun weekend. Very, very comfortable, kind of my cup of tea. It's interesting. There's these milestones that you live about, right? There, it's you live to be 21, and it's all this big hoopla, and then it's 25 and that next, and then it's like I realized like last year 26, 27, 28 hasn't really been nothing exciting, hasn't really been nothing that is like, oh wow, I gotta, it draws my attention. So I don't know, man. I don't feel comfortable getting older in life, but definitely have the right friends and family to to celebrate it with. So, all right, we got to talk about these Reds here, because it just seems like it seems like 1 week they they're scoring in 8-9 runs, but their bullpen's giving up 12, and then the next week their bullpen and their rotations keeping them under 5, but they can't score in a run to save their life. And I don't quite understand exactly what's going on with the Cincinnati Reds. I don't think that it's the players that we have, to be honest. I truly like the guys out there like Jonathan India and Tyler Stevenson. And I get it, right? Will Myers hasn't been performing the greatest. And there's a part of me that has to at least accept that, hey, listen, ball players now you know, they're expected to go right off the top of the bat, right? Spring training comes, they're expected to hit, 350, 400, hitting 30 home runs. And the whole idea was with Ro Myers to come into Cincinnati was to kind of give him another, hey, we're going to give you that chance. You're cheap. You didn't have a couple of great years in San Diego. Come over here to Cincinnati and let's give you that opportunity. Same thing, is going to be applied for Luke Weaver, and Will Benson's down the road. But we have ourselves a young group of guys in the minor leagues that we have to start considering at what point this year is it time to start bringing them up. Now, when I talk about this, I hear fans already, and I get those. I see those. What was it? There we go. I see players out there. Well, not players. I see fans out there already calling for changes. And one of the first changes that I saw last week was, is it time for David Bell to go? And you know what? David Bell is in such a sticky situation. So is Nick Krall. Nick Krall has to deal with the Castellinis, has to deal with not having much money to deal, and to put together a young but talented ball club and try to bring home some sort of winning season, which is almost practically impossible when you don't spend money, when you don't have, you have talent down below, but you need them to develop down in the minor leagues. I don't think that, this isn't no, Vlad, Guerrero Jr. This isn't no Fernando Tatis Jr. scenario where they could just come up and skip the minor league process. Ellie De La Cruz, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Brandon Williamson, Mac McClain, Levi Strout. We see Lyon Richardson. These are guys who are going to have to get built through the minor leagues. And the guys that we have right now, I understand. Listen, besides maybe India, besides maybe Stevenson, besides, I would like to keep Jake Fraley for the long haul, but there's a lot of these guys that right now on the ball club that may not be on the ball club next year, may not even be on the ball club by the end of this year. We talked about this back at the beginning of the season when you have Nick, Joey Votto, he's not rushing to get back because he understands ultimately if he's going to come back, he's going to have to come back and help this organization out. If Joey Votto comes back and he's not hitting his weight, he's just hurting the team more than he's helping the team. So he's not rushing to get back in. Nick Senzel was one of my guys that I had out there available on the trade block day one of opening day. If we get, something back for him, doesn't have to be anything, particular. But if we get something back, then I think it's a win because we're moving forward. We got guys down there in the minor leagues right now that is expected to come up over the next few weeks. One of the guys, before I have a list of 3 guys that could be replacing 3 key players before the All-Star break. We could start dissecting this team, and we're going to see a lot of things happen. But see, Nick Krall has the problem because he doesn't have the endless pocketbooks, which means is that he can't go out there and he can't sign top tier guys like a Max Scherzer or a Cody Bellinger. Just not processable. So what is, then you go down to the David Bell. Well, Nick Krall is putting together the best team he can for David Bell. David Bell is, I understand that this isn't no Bob Melvin or Bruce Bochy coaching this team, but David Bell's doing the best he can with what he has. And, when you just, when your offense is not in the swing of things and they're not batting their weight, what else are you supposed to do? You can't bench all 15 guys offensively and expect them to win ball games. You have to just kind of twerk it, find a way. Hopefully the hitting coaches could coach these guys up, and everyone goes through slumps, and it's just unfortunate that everyone is kind of going through a slump at the same time. And we hope to change that around tonight, as we get ready to kick on a 3-game series against the Texas Rangers. But what changes could we potentially be seeing? Now, last week we got the word. All right, the word came out that Madison Bumgarner left Arizona. And you do have to ponder over the question of, does it make sense to at least give Madison Bumgarner a phone call? We don't have lefties in that rotation, other than Nick Lodolo. He right now, Madison Bumgarner can fill a solid 5-hole, especially with the injuries of in and out. Here's what I say. I say, give a crack at it. I'm not a big fan of Madison Bumgarner. I mean, I was hearing it the other day when he got let go. It doesn't seem like he has nothing left in him. Seems like he's out of touch. And you know what? Maybe it just needs to be a new look. But once he gets cleared off of, his waivers and he becomes an official free agent, go out, give him a phone call. See what he offers and see if we could bring him in, because he could help potentially. While Brandon Williamson could, is potentially calling up, I don't want to expect him to be up tomorrow. I don't want Brandon Williamson up in the big leagues tomorrow, and when he still has work that needs to be done. So, in my opinion, give Bumgarner a call. No, I don't like the idea that he has all this baggage that he brings. But you know what? I would pay to go see Bumgarner. Unfortunately, I'd pay to go see Bumgarner right now more than I'd pay to go see Brandon Williamson up at the major league level. Okay, I would go see Brandon Williamson in AAA, of course. I'll go see Lyon Richardson in AAA, but I want to go see them right now at the big leagues, because it's going to hurt so badly. It's going to just hurt when we get nailed 9-0 from Brandon out there. That it's like, why are we just throwing these guys out there? Why? So, I mean, give Bumgarner a phone call. Let's see what he has to offer. And, at least he's a course throughout the year that could slide in the 4th and maybe 5th spot with Luke Weaver. Send Connor Overton back down to continue working. And when Connor Overton's ready to come up to the big leagues, you know what? Replace him with Luke Weaver. Luis Cessa belongs in the bullpen. I think there's a vast amount of, guys out there talking and calling for Luis Cessa to be in the bullpen. He's not an every 5-day starter. Yes, he could go 5 innings once in a while, maybe 6, but don't guarantee him going 6-7 innings like we need him to do every 5 days. That's why we have Connor Overton. That's why we have Luke Weaver. Madison Bumgarner adds a left-handed pitcher to the rotation. The other thing is that, is it time maybe we start looking at bringing some of these guys up? If Jose Barrero is not performing at his peak level, and we've given him a few weeks, and I think we got to give him maybe at least 3 more weeks, I would be honest. At this point, I'm ready to give up, but I think you have to give him his dues and give him a 3-week basis. And if you could give Jose Barrero 3 weeks and he's still not performing, then I'd start considering throwing in guys like Matt McClain to replace Jose Barrero. And Matt McClain is one of those guys who I have on my list of before All-Star break moves that we should be seeing. Another top tier one is Elly De La Cruz. Just returning back to the AAA roster right now, I think there is a sense of urgency to bring Elly De La Cruz up to the majors and just right away throw him into the mix. Just let him this is our top tier prospect. Let's bring him up to the majors. Let's let him work. And he's going to potentially be replacing in my opinion, Nick Senzel. Now, for me, it could be Nick Senzel or Stuart Fairchild. If Stuart Fairchild, doesn't, whoever has the better numbers will stay in. But for me, I'm going to be getting rid of Nick Senzel in the long run. I don't think that the Reds are going to be re-signing him. I think they're moving on from him. And if I'm going to keep on to anybody, it's going to be guys like TJ Friedel and Jake Fraley, who provide left-handed at-bats in that lineup. If you see Ellie De La Cruz, see what he has to offer, Stuart Fairchild's there. Will Benson can get called back up, and I don't think we give Will Benson enough time to really establish himself. And then I think that's what's hurting his career so far, is that we haven't given him enough time to establish himself. But it's time to make some changes. We have to make some changes. Pittsburgh Pirates, we talk about the Pirates here, right? I mean, we did mention this is pretty, sad. 16-7, first place in the NL Central, followed by the Milwaukee Brewers, 15-7. You're telling me that we're 9 games back of first place. Now, I'm not expecting us to be, anywhere near first place at the end of the season, but if we're 9 games back in the month of April, let's not make a mediocrity of our team. I know we're better than that. I definitely know that we're better than that. The Cincinnati Reds will host the Texas Rangers. Game 1 of a 3-game series tonight. Redlegs come in tonight's game 7 and 15 as the Rangers come in 7 and 14, first in the AL Central, AL Central, 2 games ahead of the Houston Texans. And I have this lineup here. And I kind of let's just visit while we're so close to game time, about an hour from now. We'll have Nathan Eovaldi on the mound. He's for the Rangers. He's 2 for 2 with a 5.4 ERA. His last outing was back last Tuesday in Kansas City. He won the game. He went 6 innings, giving up 7 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. He was 6 with the Rangers winning 12-2 that Tuesday. Nick Lodolo will be the Reds legs nod. He's 2 for 1 with the 4.98 ERA. Last pitch against the Rays. Remember that game last Tuesday? They got shut out 10-0. 4.2 innings, giving up 2 hits, 8 runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Looking to bounce back indefinitely. Tonight's lineup: India's leading things off, followed by Friedel. Spencer Steer at third base. He's batting .281. And then the cleanup is Tyler Stevenson. I like the first 4 guys. And then we get Jake Fraley, who hasn't been hitting much of his weight. Batting 197 with a home run and 10 RBIs, 3 stolen bases. Will Myers batting number 6 in the 6th spot. Henry Ramos is that new call-up. He'll be getting the nod out there playing the designated hitter today. Nick Senzel, 152. And Jose Barrero as well, batting in the 9th spot. So I'm looking. We got to turn things around. I think that's all fairly said. We got to turn things around, and hopefully we can pick up a W. All right, let's come on back. Bottom of the hour. Let's talk about what's going around in the NL Central. Got the Pirates manager signed to a contract extension. Last time they started off this good. Hey, they went to a couple of postseasons, winning a couple of divisions. And then we'll get you around the horn with Cincinnati, everything going on. Hey, we still got a lot to talk about here, so don't go nowhere. You guys are listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Looking back at the good times before it all went down, climbed right up on the hillside, a different view of my life. You left me running on and on, but I don't care, would you let me in? You said goodbye like everything's gone, everything that we could have been. But I know you're my liability. Yeah, Like he don't give a damn, girl. And my God, she owns it. So many heartbreaks, goes back to 2014, and I think that she knows it. And if you've seen her, I know that you would believe it, 'cause I know that you'd want her to. Yeah, I do. Everyone's taking their shot, but missing out on the cut. I think she knows that she drives them crazy when she's looking like that. The way she's moving makes them want it so bad. Gets the attention that we wish that we had. Yeah, it's almost cruel, 'cause I want her to. Oh yeah, I'm running in circles just to make her react. My heart is racing, yeah, I want her so
5:45 here with the program. Welcome on back here. And boy, it is. I've been told it wasn't supposed to touch 70 degrees this week. And I'm like, oh, goodness, great. Softball was canceled this weekend. Hopefully she gets to play on practice on Thursday. She'll be going back to scouts as well. Oh, my goodness. They're just growing up so fast, the girls. Gets me excited. Still waiting for information and whatnot about back surgery down the road. So we're just kind of lingering. And we want to give a congratulations out to the manager of the Pirates and David Shelton, who was recently just signed up a new contract extension with the Pittsburgh Pirates last weekend. And he continued, listen, the Pirates are looking pretty fun to watch as of late. They're just having fun. You got Andrew McCutchen back. You got, and it was kind of a pretty good scare earlier on in the beginning of the season because you had Fernando Cruz O'Neill out with an injury. Fernando Cruz out with an injury, excuse me. But, hey, they come into today 16-7, and I'm just like, wow. And I don't want to, they look like this, this top dominating team. We expect Milwaukee. Chicago is finally becoming relevant again. St. Louis Cardinals got out to a slow start, and they're finding their way back in. I'm like, this could be a NL Central race to remember when it's all said and done. We look at these type of, situations. And last year, I think that the NL East was the close one that led down to the very last game, especially between the Braves and the Mets. And I'm expecting a good outcome, if all these teams play it. And we've seen, teams like Miami, who's playing well right now, they jump up to a really hot start of the season, and then they just kind of slowly whittle themselves away. And, Pittsburgh could be one of those teams, but, we know how tough a division and how easily it could get away. So, when we see Pittsburgh out there winning games like this, we're kind of like scratching our heads, and we know we're better than this. We know that we're better than what is being displayed out there right now, and it's just a bit frustrating because we don't see it. So hopefully they could change things around with the Texas Rangers tonight. Hopefully. Other games around the league this afternoon, we have the Detroit Tigers against Milwaukee and the Brewers at 7:40, and the Cardinals are on their road trip from Seattle down to San Francisco. 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the first pitch between the Giants and the Cardinals as well. The Padres are heading over to Chicago tomorrow for a 3-game series. And let me just check the Pirates real quick. They're off today as well. The Pirates will be home to the Dodgers starting tomorrow. So that will be what the schedule looks like for them. All right, what else is going on around here in local Cincinnati? We got the Bearcats Baseball, who picked up a victory yesterday, final in 7, 12-1. They picked up the series victory against Tulane over the weekend, winning back on Friday night. It was a rainy day. They played through it. 12-9, got a chance to watch the game in the afternoon. Tulane comes back to win on Saturday 10-3, and a nice impressive 12-1 victory. On Sunday, the Bearcats moved to 17-24, 5-7 in conference play with a one-game winning streak. Their home record moves to 10-8. On the road, they are 7-13, and at neutral sites, they are 0-3. And I say that because they will have a week off as they get ready to play USF this weekend, April 28th through the 30th. So they'll be on the road, and I believe they come back home the following week against ACU. Xavier Musketeers baseball, they took on Villanova, and they swept Villanova over the weekend. 8-4 was the final on Friday. On Saturday, they won 14-1, and then a 9-3 victory on Sunday, moving to a 3-game winning streak and a 25-15 overall record. Xavier's conference play is 7-2 at home. They are 7-4. They extend their road season record to 17-11. Neutral site is 1-0. Their next game is tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. versus Eastern Kentucky. The Cincinnati Cyclones and the Kelly Cup playoffs just got underway over the weekend. They have a couple of divisions. This is how it's going to look like. You have the Central with the Cincinnati Cyclones and the Fort Wayne Comets. We'll get you their recap here in a moment. Toledo Walleyes and Indy Fields. The winner of Toledo and Indy will go on to face the winner of Cincinnati and Fort Wayne. Down there in the Mountain Division, Idaho Steelheads take on Utah Grizzlies, while we also see Alien Americans take on Kansas City Mavericks. Over there on the North Division, we see the Newfoundland Growlers taking on Adward. I can't pronounce where that name to save a life. But the Thunders, you have the Royals taking on the Mariners, and then you have South Carolina taking on Florida, as we have Jacksonville taking on Greensville. Now, only one game has had 3 games so far in the series. And that's Newfoundland taking on the Thunders. And Newfoundland is leading 2-1 in the series as they advance themselves, looking for game 4. We have the Royals taking on the Mariners. The Royals are up front 2-0 in that series. And that's going to be the North Division. In the South Division, one game was played with Florida. Florida won 5-0 against South Carolina, and then Greenville and Jacksonville is tied 1 apiece. Over there on the Mountain Division side, we see Idaho down 2-0 in their series against Utah, and then we see the Aliens and Kansas City tied at 1 apiece. And then we have the Toledo Walleyes up 2-0 against the Indy Fields, as the Cyclones are also up front 2-0. A win on Friday 4-2, and a win on Saturday 2-1. They'll be on the road on tomorrow in Fort Wayne. Puck drops at 7:35. Tonight's ECHL Kelly Cup playoff games, we will see the Ellen versus Kansas City tonight at 7 p.m. Florida and South Carolina is also at 7, and then Reading and Maine will take on puck drops at 7. Toledo Walleyes and Indy Fields next game is also Tuesday at 7 p.m. Alrighty. Woo. Just kind of figuring out where I'm at so far in this series. Talk about the Texas Rangers real quick. That with the Reds will be playing against here. They beat the A's. They took the series 2-1 over the weekend. They dropped the first one 5-4 on Friday. They came back and demolished the A's 18-3 on Saturday, and they won 5-2 on Sunday. So we're getting a lot into that. There's still a lot more to come. All right, let's check here. I got a couple of comments down here. A couple of same big things. Motor Torque Wrestling came out with a comment here earlier. Top 2 female free agent predictions being All Elite Mercedes Monet and Trinity Fatu debut at AEW Collision, or Double or Nothing, not Forbidden Door, because that wouldn't make sense. Okay. Yeah. The one thing that I will say that I'd miss is Trinity Fatu not being a part of the bloodline. I do wish, as the story tells, I love how the bloodline is growing, but I really wish it would also grow on the female side of things. I mean, so Trinity, married to one of the Usos, gets a chance to tell her story, and maybe become a reign at the top of the women's division, the WWE. So it's kind of a bummer to not see her. But you know what? I say, listen, if you're out there, anywhere you're going, right? If you're able to just jump yourself, this is where it's good to have 2 different types of wrestling promotions, or several different ones that are at the top of the level, giving you television production and whatnot. And that is because we sit here and we, talk, we sit here and we, if it doesn't work for the WWE, it could work for someone else. And we've seen it work with guys like Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, I think, and if you're not creative enough with the creative team, then I get it. Now, Motor Torque Wrestling mentioned that they could debut at AEW Collision or Double or Nothing, not Forbidden Door. And I get it, not Forbidden Door, unless maybe Mercedes has a title. But yeah, some good thoughts there. Thank you, Motor Torque, for sharing that with us. All right, here's what comes up in hour number 2. We got to talk about the breaking news that came in. My brother actually texted me like about 4:30. I was getting, 4:30. I was getting ready for the program. Took a little break, kind of clear my head, get ready for what to talk about. He came up. He was like, "Hey, listen, did you hear about? It's official. Aaron Rodgers to the Jags." It's what he texted me. He texted me, "Aaron Rodgers to the Jags," and I'm like, "Wait a minute, Aaron Rodgers to the Jags? No way. He's going to the Jets." So I said, "Are you sure it's not the Jets?" He's like, No, it's the Jags." You may be mistaken for the Jets. At the end of this, he was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. You're going to the Jets." And this was a huge deal. We are just a few days away from the NFL draft. And things like these trades and these deals, these last-minute deals, are going to be monstrous heading towards the draft, because it's going to dictate what teams do or don't do for the draft. So what do we know right now? Well, we know Aaron Rodgers is going as now Jordan Love will get his chance in Green Bay. And that means the Jets could take a different approach and can sit back. They were confident. So we'll talk about the draft in hour number 2. We'll also talk about the WWE. Triple H has a huge announcement coming ahead of tonight's Raw. The WWE draft is this Friday. Let's not forget about that. But coming up next, NBA, NHL highlights, and much more. You guys are listening to The Throw-In. Hour number 2 begins right after this break.
about to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me. Be free. Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free.
There's something going strong, stronger. There's something going strong, stronger. There's something going strong, stronger. There's something going strong, stronger.
Alrighty, hour number 2 here of the program. Let's get underway. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Throw. And Justin here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you guys want to get involved into the comments today, get on over to our YouTube page. Leave us a comment about our hot topics, because hour number 2 is going to bring you a lot of professional wrestling and NFL, because today, hour number 2 of Monday's show is going to be working on the upcoming drafts. That means the NFL draft that is coming your way in just a couple of days. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But then we also got the WWE draft that we'll talk in hour number 2 as well, because things are looking to steer up and there's a lot of questions that needs to be answered. And hopefully, they get answered. So a busy hour number 2. Want to give a shout out to Spreaker. Our major audio platforms allows us to distribute each and every episode of the Throw-In out across all major platforms: Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iPod, Google Podcasts, Spotify. If it's an audio podcast that you listen to, we're on it. You can probably just Google the Throw-In and find other platforms. We're working on getting a website going together, you guys, so be patient. I apologize for the inconvenience, but Spreaker allows you to distribute allows you to view analytics and to monetize and make a little bit of profit doing it. So thank you, Spreaker, for allowing us to be the platform that we upload our audio services from. I want to give a big shout out also to Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. Also, want to give a big shout out, thank you to Canva, the number one video editor, presentation, whatever you want. Canva is the number one place to go. Thank you with all of our presentation platforms that we have and everything that is going on, with our videos, all thanks to Canva. Before we get underway here in hour number 2, I got to talk to you guys about a couple of things here. We are good pals with Enlightened Studios and with, thanks to Terry, worked with them, getting a chance to interview a lot of great people for the Love's Not Enough theater production. Enlightened Studios does a lot of things. They do theaters, they do video, film, they do, they're all about giving back, and they utilize the local community. And if you're looking out there to you want to grow and you want to build your foundation and you need the work and you need the exposure and the experience, Enlightened Studios is the number one place to go to. It's not just an incorporation, it's a true on family, I tell you that. So head on over to Enlightened Studios website. I know they have a website, and check out what they have going on. And one thing that they're working on each and every year, they support and volunteer at these festivals. They give back to the community, and you could be a part of that as well. They got 3 upcoming festivals coming your way. June 8th through the 11th is the Italian Festival. We got the Taco Festival from June 23rd to the 25th, and then the Celtic Festival from the 14th through the 16th. And it's a great time just to get out. It's a great experience. Get out there, socialize with the the community who comes out and gets a part of the festivals. You get to enjoy live music. You get to enjoy the foods and the beverages that that it's involved in. You get to keep your tips. I think that's a very good, influential way to get out there and volunteer. They have kind of shifts, and so Enlightened Studios wants to extend the offer out to anyone. Come out, volunteer, tell them I sent you, and sign up for a couple time slots. They're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They got a couple different shifts going on. If you're interested, email Enlightened Studios at enlightenedstudios.cincy@gmail.com. That is enlightenedstudios.cincy@gmail.com. While you at it, go out there and check them out. Follow them up on Facebook. But be sure, let's get these volunteers going, you guys. Come on, let's have a good time. Let's have a good time this summer and head out to these festivals there. All right. We got to get down to NBA playoffs. It happened over the weekend. A couple games going on today. Back on Friday, Philadelphia wrapped up and was the first team to pick up a series victory, shutting out the Brooklyn Nets 4-0 with the victory back on Friday, 96-88. The Phoenix Suns picked up the victory over the Clippers on Friday, 112-102. Matter of fact, that was Saturday, 112-102. And then Miami beat Milwaukee 121-99, and the Lakers come back to win 111-101. Today's games coming your way: Milwaukee and Miami, as Miami leads 2-1 in the series. The Lakers are hosting the Memphis Grizzlies, as the Lakers are leading 2-1. It was I always think this is fascinating, especially for basketball, not only for football. So how the Jets and the Giants share the stadium, MetLife Stadium, and for me, I find it fascinating because they never share. Okay, the Jets play an afternoon game, and then they go on and the Giants play a Sunday night football game. It's never that way. You can see the Jets play a Thursday night football, and then the Giants will play a Sunday or a Monday game, but never two in the same game because they got to redo the end zones. And I watched a video several years back about these are sheets of turf that get lifted up, and they bring in forklifts and whatnot to lay down these patches. And so looking at the Lakers and Clippers game, because the Clippers was the first game at Crypto Stadium Arena back on Saturday, and I'm like, this game got done. We're gonna wait for the nighttime game. And I thought, I didn't know. I don't really know how long it normally takes for the Lakers and Clippers to switch. But I was kind of like, okay, well, do they have enough time? And boy, I thought maybe for one. So I thought to myself, all right. So the Clippers were black on black, and it says NBA playoffs in the center. So I thought that the NBA playoffs was kind of like a neutral centerpiece for the court, so they had less work to do. No, I saw the transformation yesterday on a video, and like a lapse video, and it turned out to be a full on. Lakers came in 10 o'clock game time, and it was all Lakers, right? And while the Clippers had the NBA stuff. So, yeah. But let's get right. Okay, let's just tune in. We're talking about sport. Hour number 2, we're talking about the WWE draft. We're talking about NFL draft too, of course. Trey mentioned here. He says, I know you're talking about sports scores, but there's a rumor of Triple H making a huge announcement tonight on Raw. What is that announcement? All right. What is that announcement? Let's change that. Post it down in the comments. What are possible announcements? I thought a couple of things. One, he's been promising us a brand new, unique, exciting WWE draft. Could he be maybe talking about what these big change plans are? Is that one of the maybe one of the announcement that he could make, or is he going to keep that to Friday Night SmackDown? That's one. A second one that I had on mind is him maybe announcing the general managers for both Raw and SmackDown. I can't imagine that Adam Pearce is going to be running both Raw and SmackDown. I mean, if you're going to have a brand split, you need to have general manager for both brands, right? So another option, opportunity option there, right? What do you think of Triple H, Paul Levesque? What do you think he can be announcing tonight? Huge announcement on Raw. Could it be the next opponent for Roman Reigns? Right? I mean, Roman Reigns has kind of been sidelined since WrestleMania. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this huge announcement that Triple H has to make on Raw tonight. I want to know what you guys think. What is this huge announcement? I think it has to do with the draft. I honestly tremendously do. Unless it has to do. So Trey mentions maybe announcing the number 1 draft pick. No, I think that's going to be waited for Friday. Let's be honest with that. I think it would take away the experience, because now I want to kind of sit here for the next 5 days talking about the mock drafts, right? Just like the NFL and how you have these mock drafts and who could be number 1 pick, and you got to wait until the day of. You got to wait until the day of to find. I don't want to know who's the number 1 pick. And realistically, who could be the number 1 pick if SmackDown's going first? And I'm assuming SmackDown's going first. It's on SmackDown. Picks Roman Reigns. I don't see Roman Reigns going to Raw. Here's could be another announcement that Triple H could be making tonight. Here's an idea. What about these titles? Right? We have the unified titles for we have the unified tag team titles, and the Roman Reigns has both the undisputed or the WWE and the Universal Championship, right? So is there a possibility, because we don't see a lot of I don't know, when you divide a brand, in my opinion, you have to have titles to go both for Raw and for SmackDown that is distinctly different from each other. So when you got to have a Raw title, you got to have a SmackDown title. And unless Roman Reigns is in this, every day on Raw, we have to have a main title. Okay, I've given them long enough. The original idea was last year's WrestleMania 38, when they unified the titles, the WWE Universal Championship. I claimed the idea that, all right, this is going to work as long as you have that title holder to go back and forth on Raw and SmackDown periodically. You would have a challenger from Raw at once, and then after he's done with that challenger, go to SmackDown and get a challenger from there. But you have to show up on both brands. You can't just isolate yourself to one brand. It just doesn't work that way. They failed at it. And let's be honest, they failed tremendously at it. And it's a bit frustrating, right? I am irritated because it let me down. We didn't see enough of Roman Reigns on Raw. And I'm sorry, but you can't hide Roman Reigns behind, the rest of the bloodline and the Usos and Solo Sikoa, because they're just getting tossed to do all his work. And I don't think that's not what I pay to go see. That's not what I want to see on television. So with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn currently having the Raw and SmackDown tag titles, could we see new titles be generated? Or is there a plan of separating those titles? Because I wouldn't like to see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn get drafted to Raw and then show up on SmackDown. And I think it'll be a big killer if you take the SmackDown titles off of Sami and Kevin. Wouldn't it not? What does this do? This really does not help the growth of other talent superstars. I mean, other guys that could potentially not only dethrone Roman Reigns, but could also potentially deserve to be at the top of the food chain. Braun Strowman hasn't really been there at the top of the line, right? On top of the brand. Seth Rollins always deserves to be up there. We have Logan Paul in the mix. We have Cody Rhodes in the mix. Drew McIntyre, Sheamus. Once again, Finn Balor deserves to be in the mix. And then let's not forget about guys that could potentially come up in Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker. That's 9 right there. Gunther, who's shown a lot over the last couple months, deserves to be at the top of the match. So those were guys I was mentioning last week that could potentially dethrone a guy like Roman Reigns, right? Well, if you're splitting the brand and say, all right, you have Roman Reigns on SmackDown, whoever is on SmackDown can fight for Roman Reigns, give him some new challengers, great. He hasn't faced a Gunther before. He hasn't faced a Braun Breaker before, right? So let him go through those challengers, and then on Raw, bring up these other guys. A great opportunity. I think it's important that you also highlight it. I mean, I'm also thinking about, and I know this is maybe a crazy idea, Roman Reigns, you reignite Roman Reigns as the WWE champion. You bring a World Heavyweight Championship back. I mean, there's so many opportunities. What are your thoughts on this announcement? What else can you? Let me know. What else? What else is there? Huh. I'm thinking. Has to be huge. There you go. Trey said, I think maybe it's new GMs or a split of titles or even introducing new titles. Maybe they change the look of a tag team titles to split them. Hunter, this is one of these are all good stuff. Thank you, Trey, for coming down in the comments here and sharing with us. These are all really good things. But, Triple H had back when he took over, he had a lot of he had to fill in some pretty big shoes. And he goes out there, he makes a pretty bold statement, and he's expecting change. And you know what? we're feeding into Hunter. We're feeding into Paul that, all right, you said we're going to have a WrestleMania to remember. We have a WrestleMania to remember. So you come out and say, hey, WWE Universe, we're going to split the brand. I think this is a great opportunity, by the way. But you're going to go split this brand. And we're going to have some really big plans and some changes are going to be made. And you're promising the WWE Universe some changes that WWE Universe demands and wants, especially away from the Vince McMahon era, right? I'm sorry, but if you don't deliver, how much of an impact can this make on the overall outlook? I know Paul has done a really good job taking over the creative team since Vince. And Trey, leave me a comment down below in this. But he's promised some really big changes in the upcoming WWE draft. If we don't like the changes, or they're not as big as we expected them to be, realistically, are you disappointed? Would you be disappointed? Would you be hurt by it? That's what I want to know. Let me know down in the comments what you think about that, because he's filling in some big shoes, right? He's delivered quite well. I would honestly say Paul Levesque has really put together something special and something that I can support and get behind on, right? Just like Tony Khan comes out every couple of weeks in AEW, say, hey, I got this big announcement. You got to tune in to AEW Dynamite. Maybe Triple H is coming out there and doing the same thing. So let me know down in the comments below. I'll wait for what he has to say and move on a little bit. Tonight, Milwaukee, Miami, and Memphis, and the Lakers. The NHL tonight will have the New Jersey Devils taking on the New York Rangers as see, I have those two mixed up. I have the Rangers leading 2-0. Toronto leads 2-0 over Tampa Bay. Vegas Golden Knights taking on Winnipeg Jets as Vegas lead 2-1. Colorado leads 2-1 over Seattle Kraken. So as the Stanley Cup playoffs continue, look forward to that. Trey says he's promising a huge announcement. It better not be we aren't going to anywhere speech. Okay, so let me ask you this. All right, so yes, Paul Levesque has went out there and said, hey, we're going to have this big announcement. Okay, I get that. But what happens if he doesn't deliver on the WWE draft? Because I remember back in 2016, Vince and Stephanie take over the draft, right? Take over Raw and SmackDown. Shane and Stephanie. And, it was exciting. It was fun. And it was unique because it's been a while. And we were definitely tired of the brand being put together. And they definitely were promoting this next level of NXT talent, right? That's why they did the brand split back in 2016. NXT was getting populated. We were bringing talent up, and they needed to split the brand to even build them more. Well, we're doing that again. And I feel like the tag team division's coming back. There's a lot of great opportunities out there. We see guys like Elias and Rick Boogs, kind of getting along. So I like to see maybe them form a tag team. And yet again, we could see teams split, right? We could see the Judgment Day split. But the ultimate question is, if, the expectations, I think, are pretty high for this brand split. And I think we're expecting a lot. And if Vince McMahon does not deliver, then, or not Vince McMahon, excuse me, I still get those two mixed up. If Paul doesn't deliver on this brand split, then we could would you get upset enough to do anything, or to feel a certain way? Trey says people are going to be angry if the draft is not game changing. What could be okay? I think there you go. That's the question we ask. What is considered game changing to the WWE universe? That's what I want to know. What is considered to be game changing to the WWE universe? What more could you possibly change? I want to hear that. Anyone who wants to come on this program and tell me what is game changing? Because Trey's right here. It has to be game changing. But how do you make it game changing? Because I feel like we've seen everything in the books already, no? I want someone to come on here and explain to me what game changing has to be. All right, let's talk about this draft when we come back. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We'll talk more about this draft. I want to know. I also want to know who's possibly coming up from NXT, because there's some slots available, I think. And there's some pretty big matches set for tomorrow night on NXT. Summer break-in? We'll talk about that next. You guys are listening to The Throne here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Going on, everyone? Justin here from the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to you, the listeners. That's right. Without you guys, none of this is possible. I would also like to take the time and invite you out to our merchandise page, thanks to T Public. Our merchandise page is where you can find all of our brandings from the Throne, which is currently active weekly, to the TNC Sports Talk official brands, to either the prior shows that was part of the TNC Sports Talk Foundation. Within all the brandings, you can select t-shirts in both men and female sizes, apparel such as hoodies, kids onesies, kids t-shirts, phone cases, notebooks, coffee mugs. They have a vast majority. This is why I love T-Public. And right now, if you spend $80 or more, you get free shipping. And so we want to invite you out to our merchandise page by heading on over to tpublic.com/user/TNC-sports-talk, or even using the QR code up in the right-hand corner. We want to thank you guys again, the listeners, for supporting us, and we hope to see you guys out wearing our merchandise. Monday Night Raw is tonight, you guys. Live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tune in. Paul Levesque has a huge announcement. I'm trying to figure out what that announcement is. Also get to see Bad Buddy return to Raw as he's in search for revenge. And we'll see WWE Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio take on Damian Priest. That's all tonight on Monday Night Raw. WrestleMania Backlash is coming in 2 weeks, May 6th. Couple matches heading into Backlash here. And, you know, Trey sparked something that I think needs to be addressed. We have seen, this is going to be in the last 20 years. This has been the third brand split from the WWE. Okay. And and here's the thing. This is the first brand split that we see under new creative team. Paul Levesque has come out here and said, listen, this is all me. And we're out here saying that this is the era of Paul Levesque, of the game, Triple H, right? This is quote unquote game changing to everybody. And I'm excited. And you should be excited too, because I feel like there are plenty of talent on the roster that gets held back because of guys like the Bloodline. Nothing against guys like the Bloodline. Nothing against Solo Sikoa. Nothing against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. But there are plenty of guys that get held back because of where people are today. This whole Bloodline story is about them and they run the show. And that's fine. But what has happened is that the Judgment Day hasn't been able to grow because of it. As much as I love the Bloodline, as much as I enjoy, and I think that is good for business that they begin the show and they end the show on Monday Night Raw, and that they begin the show, and end the show on SmackDown. Those are segments that are being taken away from other talent. So I think there needs to be a new opportunity. And that's why I'm so favored into this brand split, is because if you split the brands, you are forcing talent to be created and to have to compete week in and week out. And I get it. It's frustrating when you're trying to look at budget cuts, when you are dealing with, sloppy creative story writing, when you're dealing with injuries, because God knows we deal with plenty of injuries on the roster, when you deal with contract issues. I mean, I understand the predicament. Trey's been reaching out here. He's gonna say, hey, it's game changing. So I gotta ask you, we've seen two of them before. what's game changing, what can be game changing? Because when I think of game changing, I'm thinking of something that is completely different than what we've seen back in 2016 and then what we've seen back in 2003 or 1, whenever SmackDown was created and Vince McMahon had the brand split between Vince and Ric Flair. Remember that? I mean, I was very young. I was 7 years old. Trey says here, this is a very good question. What is game changing? And he's not even sure if he can actually answer that question. Maybe it's the way they introduce the picks instead of naming them. See, the problem is over the years, especially 15, 20 years ago, every year they would have this mix up, right? Where every name gets entered into the hat, and they would even, Trey even mentioned this here, have matches and the winner will get picked, gets to pick. But see, we've had similarities to that. We've seen it where, Raw and SmackDown will compete on Raw on a 3-hour episode, and the winner of the match will earn a pick from the brand. He also mentions, let's just say it's Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley. All right. Have the person who got drafted be instructed by surprise attacking someone? Yeah, you're going to have to enlighten me more on that. There's a lot more to this draft than this Friday night. We have to get through tonight. And we have to get through tomorrow night. And I think tomorrow night will give us a pretty big opportunity to understand what is going to happen Friday. Now, here's also I was thinking about for Triple H's announcement tonight. And we'll talk about NXT here in a moment. But my Triple H thought announcement could also be, now we've thrown out the new opponent for Roman Reigns. We've thrown out how the draft is going to work. We thought the idea of general managers for the draft, which I feel like is a little cliche because we've already done that. I mean, it makes sense, but, I don't know if anyone is really going to, for me, I don't know anyone that could be worthy enough as this quote unquote huge announcement to really get me saying, oh, wow, that person is going to become general manager. We saw Mick Foley. We saw Kurt Angle. We saw Bryan Danielson all become GMs. So having past-time performance now, unless you're telling me that it's going to be The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, maybe I give I'll be like, holy crud. But other than that, I don't really know what would actually blow my mind, to say, all right, wow, they're general managers. But what I'm thinking also is that there's been a lurking conversation about a topic that I think a lot of fans agree with. And maybe, just maybe, and I know this may be the probably biggest, boldest prediction I have, maybe Paul Levesque comes out and says, we're going to cut down Raw to 2 hours. Just think about that for a second. How often have we stated here that 3 hours of Raw? Even Paul has admitted to social media before that creating the third hour of Raw each and every week is practically impossible to do. And that's the most challenging part of being on the creative team, is creating that third hour of a program. So maybe, just maybe, he comes out and said, guess what, you guys? Starting May the 9th or 8th, Monday, May 8th, Raw will only be 2 hours instead of 3. Wouldn't that sound possible? Here's my other thought I would also take on this huge announcement. We're just throwing out ideas. What about an idea that's been lingering the news a couple weeks ago for the last couple of days, and that is being, what is it called? How do you want to call it? Over the last couple of days, the news of a new television network. Last couple of days, there's been thoughts and conversations, and that's going to be, so there was a conversation, there's been reports that WWE may be changing networks from USA and and its time slot and day. So maybe he's going to announce, he could potentially come on Monday and say, all right, let's announce we're changing to Tuesdays now, or we're changing to Fox now. So a whole bunch of predictions here. I want to get to this point here. I know Trey sent me something down in the comment. I'll answer that here in a bit, but I really want to get to this. Possible call-ups. Braun Breaker would be one that would be unreasonable not to call up. Cameron Grimes, not seeing Cameron Grimes for who knows how long would be unreasonable not to call up. Carmelo Hayes will put his title on the line against Grayson Waller. And that was another name that's been mentioned highly of to be called up in the WWE. But the problem that I have is that he's at the top of the food chain. There's a couple of feuds that he can have. And plus, the way I see him dropping that title, I really wish it would be against Trick Williams. As he maybe turns on Carmelo Hayes down the road. You just put the title on Carmelo Hayes. I understand that he's a good candidate to call up to the main roster, but I just don't like the input of being, of him being called up to the main roster quite yet. We see another title match tomorrow at NXT Summer Break-In, and that is going to be Indy Hartwell, who puts her title up on the line against Roxanne Perez and Tiffany Stratton. Now, Tiffany Stratton came on to social media the other day and says, hey, I still got work I need to learn. I need to control, some things. I need to be able to sell better. And so that kind of gave me the notion that Tiffany Stratton is not ready to be called up quite yet. But Indy Hartwell is kind of like the last squad member that has not been called up under this new women's division at NXT. So, and I would love to see Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell do something on Raw because they were so, they gravitated my attention back down in NXT. So to be able to bring that up to WWE, I think is something promisable. And I think, especially with Triple H at hand, we can see that happen. Does that mean tomorrow night we will see Indy Hartwell lose the title to either Roxanne Perez or Tiffany Stratton? But then there's also guys like Dragon Lee. We know how good Dragon Lee is. Not to see him come up to the main roster sooner than later. I mean, it would also be doing me an impression not to see Ilja Dragunov. I know his character hasn't quite really made it down in WWE. Maybe coming up to the main roster can do wonders and, new image, maybe a part of Imperium, but those are guys that I would like to see heading into conversations we'll have heading into later this week. Now, Trey wants me to get my thoughts on a match coming up here at Backlash, and that is Omos versus Seth Rollins. Let me kind of give you the breakdown of what the Backlash match card looks like so far. We will see Cody Rhodes take on Brock Lesnar. Rhea Ripley will defend her SmackDown Women's Championship against Zelina Vega. We will have a 6-man tag team match between the bloodline of Solo Sikoa, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso, taking on the unified tag team champions Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Matt Riddle. We will see a triple threat match for the United States Championship between Austin Theory, Bronson Reed, and Bobby Lashley, and then also scheduled in the books is Seth Rollins taking on Omos. Here's my problem with Omos. He needed a win desperately at WrestleMania, in my opinion. You had this Goliath of a man who came back destructive, just destroying anyone and everyone to his imagination. He went out to picked out a fight against the beast incarnate Brock Lesnar that he couldn't handle himself with. Now, every time I think Omos is going to get over, he takes 10 steps back. And WrestleMania was one of them taking 10 steps back. Now, if Omos would have beat Brock Lesnar, then as a beast slayer, the conqueror of kings in Seth frickin' Rollins, would have made more ideal sense to see these two men being put at. Because Omos said, all right, I take care of the beast. Let me take care of the beast slayer while I'm at it. I don't feel like this necessarily does anything for either men. And matter of fact, I think this is a waste of talent for Seth Rollins. That's all because maybe creative has put Brock over against Omos. I think it would have been a bigger and better result if we saw Omos beat Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar, out of frustration and anger and just annoyed that he can't win one lately, and he used to be at the top of the food chain and now he's not, then take his anger out on Cody Rhodes. Right? Does that not make sense? Because when Brock Lesnar turned on Cody, it was like, what, okay, what happened? What did I miss? I mean, I get it. If Brock Lesnar wanted to, be king again, I would have just went through Roman Reigns. Cody Rhodes already lost. He doesn't have any rights anymore to challenge Roman Reigns. I would have not have to go through Cody Rhodes. I understand Cody Rhodes and I understand Brock Lesnar in the feud, especially only for Cody Rhodes' standpoint, because for Cody Rhodes, you lost against the tribal chief, right? You have to start from the bottom and work your way up and earn your spot. Royal Rumble, you didn't earn your spot. I'm sorry. You can get mad at me all you guys want, but Cody Rhodes did not earn a title opportunity at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns. He was given a title opportunity. And yes, he went a good solid, 10, 15 minutes with Gunther at the Rumble. But he was entered in that number 30, and Gunther was... So I'm like, what's going on? So Cody Rhodes has to break down and has to rebuild himself. And how he's going to do it is by beating guys like Brock Lesnar. Now, see, they started off with Brock Lesnar right away, and that's why I'm kind of curious. There's not many, more people you could go through beyond Brock Lesnar, right? I mean, you go Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar. You've already had Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. I don't see that happening again right now. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, maybe, sure, okay. Who else? With Cody Rhodes and Bobby Lashley? So, for me, and tie along into this draft, Cody Rhodes has to stick on the path of Roman Reigns, because I feel like that's the only way Cody Rhodes is going to be. If WWE puts Cody Rhodes on Raw and puts Roman Reigns on SmackDown, and Cody Rhodes, and then Raw decides, all right, we're going to go out and we're going to make a new title, and Cody Rhodes goes on to win that title, he didn't win the Ultimate Prize. Ultimate Prize is back at Roman Reigns. That's what Trey has to say. Trey says, my main problem with Omos is that he's 7'3", 400 pounds. Omos should be booked as a dominant monster like Andre, Big Show, Braun Strowman, right? My point is he can't win big matches when he should be. I mean, that's a good point. It's a good problem, right? Let me ask you this. This match doesn't make sense whatsoever. And the reason why, and I mentioned this, I'll just reiterate what the reason why, is because Omos lost at WrestleMania. Omos lost against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. That's the reason why this match doesn't make sense. And that's the reason why Omos took 10 steps back in the WWE after a big loss. He goes on and he just walks on over. He trots on over everyone on the roster when he comes back. I mean, I know it's petty party. He didn't really beat anybody, but he trotted over people. He picks a fight with Brock Lesnar that he can't win. What does that do to his image? He's been in and out, and every time he's been in and out, he doesn't seem like he's getting any better for one. I mean, and I like Omos. I think he's the next big dominant guy, and they're definitely, I think his image is correct. I think that's the one thing WWE has done right. They've splat this image on him, and I think it's wonderful, exquisite. But Omos his loss at WrestleMania, I think, just ruined everything for me. I feel like he has taken 10 steps back. He's down there. Go down to NXT. Go down to NXT. AJ Styles equals loss. No, you know what? We knew from the beginning, and if you guys were following Omos from the beginning, we knew from the beginning that this was going to be a challenge. Now, I think we knew that he came in and they just kind of threw him right there, and he didn't have much experience, and he wasn't well known. And when you know how big guys, sometimes they don't move. Sometimes they could move like a rabbit. Sometimes they can't move at all. And Omos just was one of those guys, unfortunately, that had difficulties moving. And when he had difficulties moving, you could only do so much with this man. After the title match, he goes on for one-on-one. We still never saw the feud between AJ Styles and Omos, which I still wanted to see. I wanted him to go develop himself, and we did not get a chance to see that, to be honest. And I was a bit disappointed. And I think that's what's hurting Omos's career. And I can see a Vince McMahon written all over this, okay? Omos should have went down to NXT, and he didn't. And now I think it's a little too late. Same reason for Dominic Mysterio. I think Dominic Mysterio should have went down to NXT. And I think it's now too late for him. I think it's too late to work Dominic Mysterio down to NXT. And he's not a bad athlete. I think he's a good in-ring competitor. But I think he would have gotten polished. And I know he's still young, and I know he has a long ways away, but the demand for him right now, especially tied along to his father, and especially now since they've had this title, this one-on-one match out of the way with, which by honestly, it kills me to see that he lost, didn't do it. Here's the problem. So I told you guys how Omos needed to beat all right. Makes sense. Trey says AJ Styles equals loss. Braun equals loss. Bobby equals loss. Brock equals loss. He's had a few big matches, and he's lost every time. When Omos should be dominating. Absolutely. Yeah. If he's the next big thing, I think his time is surpassed him going down to NXT. I'm going to say this. Dominic Mysterio should be down in NXT. He's not. I think he needs to be polished. And I told you guys how I was very disappointed in Omos not beating Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania and how much he should have. I'm going to say the same exact thing to Dominic Mysterio. Dominic needed the win over over Rey Mysterio. And the fact that he did it makes him, we talk about 10 steps backwards, puts him 10 steps backwards. I feel like Dominic, this isn't thriving Dominic to do anything. This is making Dominic thrown into the mix of lost causes of WWE talent. Okay? I mean, Dominic should have won and should have held his head high. And now he could come out each and every week, almost as if he as cocky as, if he was as cocky as Austin Theory. Said, hey, I beat my deadbeat dad. He's out of the picture. He should go hang up his boots and retire. And then he goes on this dominating range of growing into his own, because now he could step away. But here's the problem with Dominic. He can't move on until he's done with his father. And I'm telling you, he's not going to be that next it factor that he could be until he's washed up and he's away from Ray and this Eddie Guerrero persona. I feel like Eddie Guerrero's rub off on him has been as far as he can handle. That's it. He's done. He needs to move on. He needs to make a name for himself because he's being held back from someone else's name. He's living in the shadows. His career right now is in the shadows of everyone else around him. When Damian Priest comes out, Damian Priest is that forefront guy and not Dominic. Anyone who steps in the ring with Dominic right now, Dominic needs to be highlighting and needs to be forecasting that his opponent. And he's in the shadows of each and every opponent. Let me put it this way. Bad Bunny forecasts over Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio is a shadow underneath Bad Bunny right now. And that's where I think is sad. And until he's done with his father feud, which, he doesn't have to be done with it. He needs to step away from it, right? Go leave this whole Eddie Guerrero behind him and go out and make a name for himself, win a couple of titles for himself, to the point where he's not going to ever, you don't have to, when he goes out there, you don't have to, relate him to Ray or relate him to Eddie and bring up that story anymore. Make those stories for himself. At that point is when he's going to shine. And at that point, is when he's going to be able to that point, Trey, I appreciate Trey agreeing with me. I mean, listen, I loved Rey Mysterio winning. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was a touch moment. Dom just needed it more than me. Especially if this feud is going to last out. See how I would have thought this feud would have won. Dom would have won. Ray would have did his own thing with LWO. Dom would have did his own thing with Judgment Day. They would have, done their separate ways until they cross paths again, maybe next year, right? Especially if Ray's not talking about retirement for like another 2 years. And then they have a SummerSlam. It's 1-1. Ray wins. Go ahead. Congratulations. And then come back WrestleMania retirement match. Because sat here and said Finn Balor should have won WrestleMania. Where are the Judgment Day at now? But hey, Trey, you gave some really good thoughts. We're just getting started on a Monday with all this conversation about sports and about the WWE and about the upcoming drafts. NFL draft is on Thursday. WWE draft is on Friday. And we have a very big announcement from the game, the Cerebral Assassin, Triple H, Paul Levesque tonight on Raw, which starts in about an hour. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited as well. Didn't get much to the NFL draft, which we will come back tomorrow and we'll talk more about the draft and we'll talk about the breaking news between Aaron Rodgers being signed with the New York Jets. What does that have to do now with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow? That is still Much more to come. We're just getting started. We got a busy week ahead of us, and it's an exciting week. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in and for commenting. We'll be back again tomorrow live. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And until tomorrow, you guys have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. You guys take care. We'll see you guys later.